Previously on Balls.
Right now, Stanley Matthews.
Morning, Neal.
Stanley, how are you, mate? Stanley Matthews. Stanley, at Supersport FC, are you CEO? Is that the right title?
Yes, that's correct.
You are, yeah. The CEO and former PSL CEO when I first met you, Stanley, with the old PSL trophy once, I seem to recall. We got together somewhere at a TV studio. Stanley, I spoke to Calvin Johnson earlier. You made this great Dino and Ndlovu Lone Ranger deal yesterday. You signed Manyama. There was a bit of a strange furore around the swap deal involving George Maluleke. Stanley, does the South African transfer window work properly in your view? Do you think that we need to fine-tune the way that we do transfers in this country?
I don't think so. I think that, they call it the silly season all around the world.
Yes.
So it's not only, in South Africa. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the football business. It's not easy. And sometimes it can become complex unnecessarily. But I think we've got a pretty good, sophisticated transfer system. We've got good regulations in place between clubs. You're always going to have a situation where there's conflict. I think the biggest problem for me is sometimes the role of agents in the transfer dealings that make it maybe a little bit more complicated. As club owners, as people that have investments in professional football club, we're looking on business principles to do things. So, that's the same for me. If I need to release a player whose contract's coming to an end, I'd rather try and take a non-emotional approach about it and look and say, right, what can I get from this asset right now, and what will this asset be worth to me in 6 months' time? But the agents come in and colour the issue a little bit. They sometimes a multiple deal, and so you think you're moving in one direction, but behind the scenes a whole lot of other things are happening that you're not aware of. So it's hard to control that, and that happens all around the world. In every country where there's football, there's those type of shenanigans that take place, and sometimes you have to take it on the chin, and we took it on the chin last week, and hopefully we bounce back this week.
I know, Stanley. See, when I've worked elsewhere in the world, in a few different countries, mainly in the UK, if a club comes out, as Kaizer Chiefs did with Manyama and as you guys did with Majuro, and says, this deal's done, you tend to take that as gospel and you come out with it. But in this country, it seems to me that even you guys, at the very top of the game, coming out with statements that you believe are correct, suddenly find out that the player either wasn't informed or the player claims not to have been informed. I need a little bit of help as a journalist, Stanley, understanding, how it was that Manyama was a confirmed player at Kaizer Chiefs and then he ended up at Supersport, and now we've got Majuro somewhere hanging in the ether at a time when I sometimes look at Majuro, at least last season, maybe not this season, and when he was with Amazulu, and think, well, this is a good player who appears now to be in limbo. How does that happen? Well,
there's not a lot of agents in this country, or certainly not a lot of good agents in the country, Neal. And when you start to develop a working relationship with people, much like I have a working relationship with you and with others, I have a very good working relationship with certain agents, and Majuro's agent is one of them, and we've had a great relationship for 13 years. He's never ever told me something that didn't happen. He's never confirmed something with me that wasn't true. So the same as if you called me and asked me something and I give you an answer and you take my word on it. That's what happens. But sometimes the player also has to stand up and take responsibility. And in the end, the agent doesn't sign the playing contract. The player signs the playing contract. And the agent's there to represent the will of the player. I'd been informed on one story the whole way through on Majuro, and at the last minute that changed. So I do think that a bit much is made of it. At the end of the day, there's two elements that have to happen in a transfer. The two clubs need to agree, and the player needs to agree his personal terms. So we had a situation where Chiefs and Ajax agreed on Manyama, but the player didn't agree, so he couldn't go there. We had the same situation happen to us, where we had agreed with Chiefs a deal on Majuro, and the player did a U-turn. So that's his right. He has a right to play wherever he wants to play, and good luck to him. We've moved on. We withdrew our offer last Monday, quite publicly. And to be quite honest with you, not 2 days ago, his agent was on the phone to me asking if I'd be prepared to take him on a 6-month loan. So, but we've moved on from that. We closed that chapter on last week, Monday, and by Tuesday morning, we were working on targets 2, 3, and 4. And I think you saw yesterday we signed Dino and Ndlovu. We're very excited about it. We've completely moved on, and we really have nothing else to say on the issue. Good luck to the player wherever he lands up. He's a quality player. He's got goals in him. Wherever he lands up playing, I'm sure he'll make a good difference to the club. But for us, it's a thing of the past, and he's certainly not the first player that's ever turned down personal terms with the club, and he won't be the last. So, it's time to move on.
Well, you did move on yesterday, right before the Bafana game.
Yes.
You were all over SuperSport, as you should be, being SuperSport and SuperSport United. And there you are with Dino and Ndlovu.
Yes.
That's a great loan move, ostensibly on the surface of it. He's had his experience in Israel. How do you do a deal like that? How do you deal? I know how it works, but maybe my listeners and viewers don't work. Who do you get hold of in Israel?
Well,
or is his agent South African?
He does have a South African agent, but essentially the first thing to do was to contact the club, contacted Maccabi Haifa. We have had some dealings with them before, and to discuss, is the player available? Would they be prepared to release him? On what kind of terms? We had discussions with them for a few days. Once we had reached the situation where we saw that the club-to-club situation could be resolved, I then engaged his agent, and we negotiated the terms and announced it yesterday. So, as I said before, the two processes that need to happen are the two clubs need to make an agreement, and then the club and the player need to make the agreement, and we've done both.
Okay, and is Dino, let's just get this clear, because I forgot to ask Kevin this. Is Dino Ndlovu available for selection against Orlando Pirates?
Yes, he is.
Okay. I'm not going to ask if he's going to play, because obviously that's the coach's decision. But and you've got this huge bloke that I've liked so much over the years, the Senegalese lad up front that you took from Amatux, whose name Mama Niang.
Yes.
I think.
Well, actually, I loaned him to Tuck, so it wasn't that I took them from him. He was there. He was there on a loan.
Sorry, I didn't realise that, because I remember watching him play for Amatux against Pirates last year, and he gave old Sias Sangweni, the best centre back in this country, a very hard time. You've now got this massive Mama Niang, wins everything in the air, and Dino and Ndlovu next to him. Are you looking at top 3 place? Are you still title contenders?
I don't know about title contenders, because we've slipped a bit back. 10 points off the pace, and in this league, 10 points is not the easiest to overhaul. But in any event, we'd like to finish certainly in the top 4, and hopefully, Manyama and Dino will help us do that. We've also secured Tatu Mokeke and Clayton Daniels on pre-contract. Yeah. So we feel that we've added significantly to the squad for now and also for July. So hopefully, the end of the season, and certainly for next season especially, because it was always going to be a reshuffle, after Gavin Hunt in charge for 6 years. We had a certain way of doing things at the club, and it does take an adjustment when you've got a new person in, and Kevin came in and started quite nicely, and we've slipped back a little bit, so he'll readjust and reshuffle and stamp his own personality on the team. And hopefully, certainly by next year, we would like to be in position to challenge for the title. If that happens for us this year, we haven't ruled ourselves out. We're holding a top 4 place, and who knows, if you have a good run, anything's possible.
Well, I mean, the work you've done during the transfer window is quite impressive. If they're all out and firing, you've got depth to go with, the squad that you had before. Interesting. Let's see how it goes. I mean, it's going to Orlando Pirates desperate to move up with those games in hand. Best of luck, Stanley. Thanks for speaking to us, and let's keep in the loop in regards to these transfers and moves that still to go in January.
Okay, good, Neal. Thanks, man.
Great stuff, Stanley. Thanks very much.
Ciao.
That's Stanley Matthews, guys, named after one of the greats of English football. Nice bloke, easy to talk to. Get a CEO on here. Can you imagine getting someone like Roman Abramovich on the
Nope,
bloody
not at
radio in
all.
England? It would never happen, was it? Stanley Matthews went out of his way there to give us a little bit of time and to explain to us that it wasn't the breaking news there that 2 days ago Tim Sikazi, Leoslanola Maduro's agent, was on saying, well, can you take him for 6 months loan after the other deal went wrong? That's breaking news.
Visual radio. Radio like you've never seen it before. Balls.co.za